We're actually
ready, Chad?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Thanksgiving coverage on the Prime Sports Horse Report with Jon Hardoon and Chad Summers. What does that say about us? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Chad,
Yes.
did you have your turkey yet? I know
No.
your schedule is different. You might have had dinner like 4 hours ago.
No.
No? Okay. All right. Anyway, we have 2 races to handicap. And before we get started, anything else going on? We've been rushing over the last month. I just figured I'd take like a few seconds to smell the roses and ask you guys, is anything going on in the industry? Anything crazy? Anything good? Anything gossipy?
No, we're all good.
No? Boring? Come on. There's got to be something
hits.
controversial going on. No?
As long as Sis is around, there's always controversy around.
You could spend 3 shows with all the controversy around.
Oh, then there you go. All right, that's controversy in itself. Okay, we've got 2 races to handicap on today's Thanksgiving special, and that is we've got races at Aqueduct and Del Mar, both graded stakes races. By the way, we did not. The only other track that has graded stakes races today is Churchill, the Kentucky Jockey Club and Goldenrod. And did you look at any of those races already, Chad? Any particular reason why you decided to go with these 2?
They're 2-year-old races, and the best 2-year-old that should be in the races on the farm, so we're boycotting.
All right. I like it. So let's go with Aqueduct first. This is going to go off about 3:45 on Saturday. It's 1 mile and an eighth, grade 3, Comley Stakes, $200,000 purse for fillies, 3-year-olds. The 7 and 8 are the morning line favorites. Defining Purpose, 3-1 shot, coming off an 8. So a bounce looks likely there. And Raging Sea, the 5-2 shot, is actually the favorite. Trending in the right direction, John. 17, 13, and 12 into 3 races this year with Chad Brown and Franco, the combo there.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, she's fine, but I think you have better options at longer prices. And I agree with you with your analysis on Defining Purpose. I think she's going to react. She ran an 8 last time out, which is a new top at this point in her life, and she's coming back without any time off. So I would play her to react off of that race.
Chad?
Look, I feel like Raging Sea is the favorite in this race because it's trained by Chad Brown. I don't understand why Just Catherine, who beat her on the square last time, or 2 times ago at Saratoga, is 9-2, and she's 5-2. Look, I thought she was going to react off that last race in the Cotillion. It wasn't really set up for her the right way. She looks like she's come out of this race in really, really good form. You know, when trainer Jose Jimenez came here in the spring, I was trying to figure out why he left Gulfstream. I think it was for this filly. I think they've always kind of liked this filly. She ran a really, really good second in the Wilton behind Randomized, who came back and won the Alabama, and then came back and ran well again throughout the rest of the year. I feel like Just Catherine should be equal odds, if not lower, than Raging Sea. I understand Raging Sea won the allowance race last time, but that was an A other than, where, you know, Just Catherine's coming out of a grade 1. I just, for a value play and everything else, I'm not going to complain, and I'm going to take a stab at Just Catherine at 9-2 over the 5-2 you're getting on Raging Sea.
Yeah, let's talk about those 2 9-2 shots, the 4 Just Catherine and the 2 Julia Shining, because they both have 9s. Where, as you mentioned, Raging Sea, Chad, I mean, that horse, even though trending in the right direction, has never had a number better than a 12. So what about the lines, the sheet lines on those 2 horses, John? The 2 Julia Shining and the 4 Just Catherine.
Well, Julia Shining is very well bred. She was supposed to be a nice horse. Obviously, something happened which resulted in her long layoff between races. I mean, the only good news about this horse is she's finally coming back relatively close, but it still is a 10, and she still could go backwards off of it. I had a different idea in the race. I kind of liked the 5, Corning Stone.
Yeah.
To me, at 12-1, that horse is certainly as good as Raging Sea, probably better. And if I'm playing the 7, Defining Purpose to bounce off of that number, and I am, I could use Julia Shining underneath. I could use Just Catherine underneath, and probably Raging Sea. But at 12 to 1, to me, the 5 is the right key if you really get that price.
If she runs, right? She's cross entered to run on Friday in India and
Oh,
Churchill. So
jeez.
we have to
Uh,
see kind of what ends up happening with these races. She's cross entered. The Six Warriors Ransom's cross entered at
Oh,
Laurel on Saturday.
jeez.
So there's definitely some moving parts, in the race, which makes what we do
that
difficult
much
sometimes
harder.
when
Yeah.
we do it ahead of time.
Yeah, the 5 and the 6 were to me, and again, you said it, John. Good bargains there. Even the 6, 9 straight in the money. If you look at the sheet line, the last 3, 18, 12, 10. The 10 was, I mean, not like it was something that it's only a 2-point best.
Yeah.
So, and you're getting value with both the 5 and the 6. So, but yeah, as
I,
Chad
I
said,
would I would I would question the distance on both those horses. Corningstone's being a daughter of Quintero says they really don't want to go much further. I know she won last time at a mile and an eighth at Keeneland, but Keeneland with that short stretch is a little bit more forgiving. And Chop Chop was probably the best horse in the race that day. And Warriors Ransom being out of a Warriors, being by Warriors Reward out of Stephen got even married. Again, um, most successes come around one turn. I know she has some two-turn races, but I think that's tough going a mile and eighth against some proven fillies who can handle the distance. Whether defining purpose bounces or not, she can get out the distance, and I don't know that about Corningstone or Warriors Ransom.
yeah, maybe that's why they're getting 12 to 1 on those. So, but we don't even know if they're going to be entered. As far as any of the horses in the race, there's a 6 to 1 shot. Honor D Lady, that's the 3, the Safi Joseph trained horse who has only been on the dirt twice. Last September, 23, first race of her career, switched over to grass, it looked like, and synthetic, actually. And then just made a reappearance on dirt last September, or this past September, and ran a 12 in the win. Is that enough? I mean, 6 to 1, is that a little bit too low for your money, John?
Yeah, I mean, again, the 5 is twice the price. Even the horse you mentioned, and Chad's right. I don't think the 6 wants to get that distance, but that is a super trainer in Jamie Ness. So, but I think the 5 is a lot better than the 3, and the 5 is twice the price of the 3. So,
And for whatever it's worth, the race that Honor Lady's coming out of the Remington Park Oaks, both the Remington Park Derby or the Oklahoma Derby and the Remington Park Oaks, were given very, very fast numbers. I'm not sure that number is accurate. Um, it's a very, very. It was a weird number because the numbers don't really match up with the rest of the running line that the other horses have had in their career. So I'm gonna take a wait and see approach from the numbers from the Remington Park Oaks and the Oklahoma Derby. So
Okay.
uh, reason I'm gonna sit and watch in that situation.
And the only other horse in the field that you banned, the 12 to 1 shot, a little slow, but maybe you want to keep an eye on that horse next time because the sheets are going in the right direction 22, 19, and 16. But right now, just a little too slow, especially considering the 12 to 1 number is just like the 5 and the 6. Okay.
Well,
John?
I think the thing.
Oh, yes.
No, just the thing with Incher, man. I mean, look, first of all, it's Linda Rice, so it's 50-50. The horse scratches because she doesn't like to be in a race that she's more than 5 to 1.
Huh.
But
Okay.
second of all, if the horse does run, when you handicap a race, I think this is important to take into consideration. So this is a homebred, even though it's listed as Cypress Creek Equine and bred by Southern Equine Stables. It's the same thing. They have a big breeding operation. This is a 3-year-old filly trying to get black type in open company. She's had black type in New York bred company restricted. So they're in the race just trying to run third. And so when you're handicapping, I think you have to take that into consideration because sometimes the running style might change because they might not be running to win as much as running to try and hit the board. And so if you're a handicapper, I think you take that into consideration. Like, look, I mean, at 12 to 1, and she's probably a little bit outclassed. Her numbers are a little bit slower than everybody anyway. But if you're looking at her, I'd say, hey, maybe the jock's going to try really hard to try and run third. So, you try and put her underneath on the bottom of your tickets. It's different, looking at filly races, especially now towards the end of the year as breeding season's getting started and underway next year in February. You have to look at those filly races and that's what you're looking for is just trying to hit the board rather than trying to win. It's just a different approach and different attitude. But as a handicapper, as most of our viewers are, especially on the Patreon, they're not looking for breeding. They don't care about the breeding incentives. They want to know who's well met and who the winner is. So just something to kind of take into consideration there on Ichabod, and I mean, really to a lesser extent, maybe Julia Shining as well. I mean, like John said, she's so well bred, being half sister to Malafat and everything else. With that pedigree, she's been a colossal disappointment. And I mean, she passed tired horses last time. Maybe she's better. I've been on her bandwagon for a long time. I'm getting ready to hop off, so she'll probably win. But same thing. I think they're looking for a graded black type on Julia Shining, more so than we're all in. We're ready to rock and roll.
Cool. All right. Excellent. See, that's what you get here on Patreon, and sometimes you don't get this on YouTube. All right. Now let's go with our picks, John. What are you going to go with?
I'm picking the 5 Cornerstone and Exactas for first and second, with the 2 Julia Shining, the 4 Just Catherine, and the 8 Raging Sea. 5 with 2, 4, 8.
Chad?
I'm going to take Just Catherine. I think she's going to pull a slight upset. Hoping jockey Trevor McCarthy can heat up a little bit. He's been pretty cold for a while now, but hopefully, he's always trying really hard and giving his best effort. I think this horse is well meant today. I think she's a lot better than the last effort indicates. And if you go back, her last 2 races besides that last effort are probably the best in the field, including better than when she beat Raging Sea. So I'm going to go with Just Catherine on top. I'll play her underneath with Defining Purpose and Raging Sea. But I like Just Catherine at 9-2. I play her, win and plays 9-2. And from the smaller connections, I think, you're not going to see a lot of movement in that morning line. So I think you get 5-1, 9-2, and I think that's fair odds on this, really.
All right, so 4 over 7, 8.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll do 2 over 5, 6, and 8. That is our Aqueduct race, the Grade 3 Calmly. Now we're going to move on over to Del Mar. This should go off about 6:30 on Saturday, so you're going to have about a 3-hour. Little less than a 3-hour wait. By the way, I have to bring this up. Last week we did races at Churchill, I believe, John. And remember, I asked you the question of whether or not wasn't the morning line.
No, the post time. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm getting ready, and sometimes this happens. I mean, especially it's Saturday. I got college football. I got so many things going on, and I'm like, all right, I gotta go make my bet. So I go and I pop on the thing, and it's like. It says it's not available. What are you talking about? So I hit the video, and it's like the race is over. How the race is over? I'm looking at the morning line thing, and it's at the time, and it said that I still have 5 more minutes, and the race was over already. How do they do that?
They lied to you. Terrible. I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
Was that just? Do you know if it was just one race, or is it like they just got like early? At
Sometimes
some point
they have contractual situations with football. They work around the football schedule, I guess. I don't know. It's national TV. Listen, they moved the Classic up 2 races because of football this year in the Breeders' Cup. So,
wow, that was crazy. All right, anyway, let's talk about Del Mar.
Thanks for the reminder.
What's that?
Thanks for the reminder.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right, mile on 16th turf race, the Seabiscuit Handicap. So it's a $200,000 purse for 3-year-olds and up. Again, this will go off about 6:30 Eastern. So let us talk.
I love the fact that, by the way, when you think of Seabiscuit, the first thing that comes to mind is a mile on 16th on the turf. So
he never ran. Did he even run on the grass?
I don't think he ever ran at Del Mar.
I don't think he ever ran on the grass.
Well, that makes a lot of sense then. That's horse racing for you. Let's talk about the 2 favorites in the race first, the 2 and the 4. The 2 is a 5-2 shot Easter, and the 4 is Hong Kong Harry, the 8-5 shot. Sheet-wise, John, these 2 look like the clear favorites, as they should be, because Easter, the 2, is coming off a 7.99, also ran a 7 in May, and the 4, Hong Kong Harry, even though the numbers are a little slower, now that the horse is 6 years old, 9, 10, 9 last 3 races at Del Mar last year, and he's only raced at Del Mar 3 times, were 8, 7, and 6. A matter of fact, the best race of Hong Kong Harry's career, John, was at this track and at this distance running that 6.
Yeah, and listen, if he decides to repeat or make a forward move, he's going to definitely be tough in here. He is the morning line favorite. Juan Hernandez climbed back aboard last time and won with this horse. Flavian Pratt will be out of town, so I don't know. I mean, listen, he's the horse to beat, but you have horses in here that are big prices that have a little bit of a shot. The 5, yes, this time has a 10 that he could run. Cabo Spirit could run a 10. Even Astronomer, you could throw out the bad race. He had excuses. He's got old numbers to go back to. He's 2 for 4 at Del Mar, and he's a big price. So a lot of ways to go here.
I want to ask you guys a question about this race. It's more of a general question than actually about this race, though. So, Greg, obviously you do a lot of things in other sports, right? And John, you like to gamble. So when you have things in other sports, like on FanDuel and some of these websites, you can do, same game parlays, anytime touchdown, all that kind of stuff, right? Why is it that we don't get together with some of these sports books and have it something like here, like Phil D'Amato wins the race. He has 3 horses in the race. Rather than pick one of Phil D'Amato's horses, you get him at even money or 4 to 5 or whatever it is.
Make it a prop bet.
You want to win the race.
You want to make prop bets.
I think that listen, I think horse racing is falling behind the times. I think that people are passing away and not being replaced by their younger generations because the younger generations are doing these prop bets in other sports. 10 thing parlays with 14 rebounds and 7 block shots, whatever it is. I feel like, and I think Phil D'Amato wins this race. I don't know which one of the 3, but I think Phil D'Amato wins the race. I think that we need to get with the times and embrace the times. And I was just curious what you guys thought if something like that, like Greg, would you have interest if you were looking at this race and saying you can bet Phil D'Amato and you get all 3 of his horses, or you can get the international jockeys or you can get the American jockeys,
sure,
or whatever, just something different that gives the fans the normal, not the normal, I don't say normal, but the casual fans a little bit more of an attempt to put a bet in with a little bit more confidence than otherwise, and maybe the handle goes up on doing things like that. I just want to,
I think it's a brilliant idea. That's why I voted for you to be president. Chad's running for president, by the way, and anyone listening out there that has a vote, give it to Chad because he's the man for the job. It's a brilliant idea that he came up with. I'm telling you, I think that's a smart idea, and anything is a plus. It doesn't hurt. They could add the bet. If you don't want to make it, no one's twisting your arm.
Correct.
Greg,
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, they might have some prop bets for only the big races, but
they do. They have matchups with this horse against that horse. They do that,
but nothing like you're talking about. Yeah, that's
that. The matchup is tough for a casual fan. Look, there are people that are spending millions of dollars anytime home run on guys they've never heard of before because they're getting 12 to 1 or whatever.
Yeah, or scoring in the first inning or stupid crap like that.
I mean, look how much money at the Super Bowl on the Super Bowl prop bets.
Yeah.
On the flip of the coin, the time of the national anthem, all that bullshit.
National anthem is going to be. I just want to embrace it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll bring this up. Matter of fact, that'll be a good conversation. I've been trying to get you guys on with Mark Lawrence on his show. He just on his channel. So I think that'd be a great topic to talk because he's the one that is dialed in with Las Vegas and sports books.
Would you take 3 to 5 that a D'Amato's going to win? Because that's what that bet would be. D'Amato would be 3 to 5.
I would take that.
Yes.
It's the same thing like betting money line for the Miami Dolphins.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something like this where you've got D'Amato.
You got
2 heavy favorites. Man. Yeah. You probably have to put up big money to make a little bit of cash, though. You're probably not going to make much, to tell you the truth.
Well, I just told you it's going to be. They would be 3 to 5. So
maybe worse. Yeah, but you're right. It'll definitely be hard to. Yeah, but that's the point. The point is like you said, just give them options.
I think Chad has a great idea. You need fresh ideas in this game, and we don't have any of them. So.
Unfortunately, no one's listening. This is something that we'd probably, better off doing on our own.
That's why Chad has to become president. I don't know if he'll grace us with his presence every week once he's president, but
we'll be the little people.
He'll remember the little people he met on his way up.
I don't think anything would change.
All right, so we've got the 2 favorites there then. So, Chad, what about those 2
Look,
you
I
just
mean,
mentioned.
Easter. I was at Santa Anita when Easter ran. It was actually Frankie Dettori's first ride. I'm not sure where Frankie went. I don't know why he's not riding his horse back. It was Frankie's first
This
ride
horse exploded the last
in the
16th of
country.
a mile.
I mean, just
Yeah.
absolutely crushed. Hong Kong Harry likes that track, and the thing about Del Mar is it's a very short stretch. And we're going to talk a lot about this the next 2 years since the Breeders' Cup has decided to grace us with their presence in Del Mar for 2 years in a row. So speaking of controversial things that don't make any sense, but that's fine. So look, it's a short stretch at Del Mar. It's a 7/8 turf course. So you have to be close. You can't come from far back. And Hong Kong Harry certainly has the right running style to do so because he makes that early move. So I think there's just kind of coverage here. Phil D'Amato knows that this is where he has to run his three horses. They're three different ownership groups. I think Easter's going to come with a late burst, but Hong Kong Harry's going to have the jump on him. And
He's going to make first run. Harry's
in a short stretch like that, I think that's what you're going to see. To John's point, can somebody like Astronomer hold on? Umberto Rispoli he's a really underrated jockey, especially on the front end and getting horses to kind of relax and turn off a little bit. If he can clear and get them to kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, last time it seemed like Ryan Moore was on Team Coolmore. And look, it's a weird thing. Obviously, Godolphin won the race with Master of the Seas. Astronomer was supposed to run in the undercard race in a stake race where he would have been one of the favorites, not been 53-1. Ryan Moore didn't really ride his horse as though he was trying to win the race. He looked like he was just trying to set up the pace.
Yeah, he was adding speed to the race. That's what he was there for.
What's that?
Why?
Because it was an uncoupled entry. Godolphin won the race.
Well, I mean, it's there were other horses in the race, from European contingents and whatever. It seemed, I don't know. You can say that the horse ran off with them. I don't know. They went 45-1. They actually went almost as fast the next day in a grade 2 race for the fillies. So maybe the turf course was just really, really fast. But I thought, the race before he was able to get away with a half in 47, and here he's going 45-1. It's just kind of a little bit of a different ball game. If Rispoli can get him to just kind of shut off a little bit, because I felt like there's not really a lot of really speed.
The one's going to go from the rail with Maldonado, that's for sure. He's stretching out.
Yeah,
from 5.5. I think the one's going to go.
But Rispoli knows that horse too. I mean, he rode him the
last 2 starts. The last 2 times, correct?
Yeah, so he kind of knows what that horse does. He can maybe sit out the trip and be first to pounce kind of thing. I don't know. I thought that was a little bit interesting there with Astronomer. If anyone's going to beat the Phil D'Amato contingent, it would be Astronomer. But yeah. I'll stick with my former roommate, and I'll say that Hong Kong Harry will be a winner.
Yeah, matter of fact, Hong Kong Harry is the defending champ of the race. So
he's a horse for course. He loves that track.
And he ran a 6 in this race last year, which was his best ever. And as you mentioned with Astronomer was second just by a neck to Hong Kong Harry in the grade 2 race at Santa Anita in September. So that bodes well for that combo. Let's take a look at some of the other horses in the field that might be of interest. You have the 3 Balnikov, the other D'Amato horse. So got a lot of 11, 10s, and 13s with the 8-1 shot, John.
Yeah, he's like other horses in the race. He's not better than the 5, 6, or 7, to be honest with you. And he's going to be a shorter price, I think.
And Cabo Spirit is 6-1. The 6, Chad, has a couple of 10s, actually 3 10s in the last 4 races, ran a 7 in April. What about the 6 and the 3, Chad?
So Cabo Spirit's an interesting horse because he's a gorgeous horse, and you throw out the Kentucky Downs race obviously too back because, as we've mentioned on the show many times, Kentucky Downs races stay in Kentucky Downs. He's a cool horse. And I don't want to pick on jockeys, but Victor doesn't ride as much right now. And in a race like this, where it becomes a little bit of a jockey race in a smaller field, in a short stretch, you got to be able to finish. You got to be able to finish strong. And, I'm going to take some of the younger bucks finishing over Victor right now. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame jockey. He's had a great career. He's come back from a lot of serious injuries. But in a race like this, in a short stretch at Del Mar, that's my concern about a horse like Cabo Spirit. If this horse was being ridden by a different jockey, I might actually pick him in first or second. But when you're handicapping, you have to look at everything. You look at sheets, you look at trips, you look at trip notes, you visualize, you look at them in the paddock. But looking at the jockey, there's no offense to Victor Espinosa. I think he's a great jockey, and there are certain horses and certain courses that his riding style fits well with. But in this spot, my feeling is I just want somebody who's just going to get a little bit more finish out of it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you're putting your hard-earned money on a horse. You want the rider to work for your money. And then the 5, yes, this time is a 10-1 shot. The Peter Miller trained horse has a.
I do think, by the way, just so you guys know, so Phil D'Amato loves Del Mar. And in the fall meet, like in the summertime, as you know, John, most people they close Santa Anita, and most people go to Del Mar. In the fall,
yeah.
Santa Anita stays open, so a lot of people don't want to make that commute. But Phil D'Amato loves that track for his horses. So you'll notice, actually, the only horses that are there, other than Mandela's horse Sumter, Phil's horses have a work over the track, albeit it's the dirt, not the turf. But they've been there. They're just walking out of the stall. They're not sitting in traffic on the freeway the morning of the race, trying to get there, and I think it makes a difference. I do think there's such
It
thing as
always makes a difference. I agree.
and so that's something else that I would add into that advantage for Team D'Amato.
All right. And again, yes, this time 10-1, coming off of 12, 10, and 12 last 3 races, but hasn't won in over a year. So you're getting 10-1 and 12-1 with front run the Fed. That's the 8 horse, 12-1 shot, who has 11, 10, 12, and 13 this year, heading a little bit in the wrong direction.
I would love to be George Sharp's racing manager. Please, if you're listening, George, let me help you. Please let me help you.
Why is that?
I mean, the horse travels around the country, around the world. He seems like a guy that loves the game and puts his money and certainly respect. Bought this horse for $440,000 from Chad Brown a few years ago, or from Duarte a few years ago. But I think he's just all over the map. Distances, where they're going. I don't know.
Grade 1, grade 2, grade
last
3.
4 starts. He got beat a length. He won by a neck. He got beat 3 lengths. Why are we sending this horse across the country to run in this race against horses like Hong Kong Harry going a mile and a 16, 2 turns? I don't get it.
That's 7. All right, so that is our breakdown of the race at Del Mar, the Grade 2 Seabiscuit. Now let's get our picks, John.
I like Hong Kong Harry the best. 4 over 2, 5, and 7. 4 with Easter, yes, this time, and Astronomer.
I think we're all going to be thinking the same. Chad?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hong Kong Harry over Easter, Belichnikov, and Astronomer.
4 with 2, 3, 7. And you, Greg?
4 over 7.
4, 7. There you go.
All right. So that's it. By the way, as we didn't say it, we said it off the air, but let's talk let me just mention next week, it starts to pick things up once we hit into December. So we've got Aqueduct, Cigar Mile, Remsen, 3 grade 2s at Aqueduct next Saturday, and Del Mar has the grade 1 Hollywood Derby.
More ridiculousness, by the way, that the Cigar Mile is not a grade 1.
That is crazy.
I mean, absolutely ridiculous that the Cigar Mile is not a grade 1.
And why isn't it?
Supposedly the story that I was told was that the Breeders' Cup, or the breeders, don't want there to be a grade 1 after the Breeders' Cup. They think the championship should be decided there, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. The Cigar Mile, if it was still a grade 1, could have seen possibly a matchup between Cody's Wish and White Barrio and let them decide on the track, even if it was Elite Power. Let the 3 of them run and decide on the track who the horse of the year is. Instead, it's a grade 2. Elite Power goes to the breeding shed, Cody's Wish goes to the breeding shed, and White Barrio's getting his suntan at Disneyland or Disney World in California. So I don't get it. They kept grade 1s like the La Brea and the Malibu, which I mean the Malibu certainly should be a grade 1. The La Brea, I don't think needs to be a grade 1 as much as the Cigar Mile. Cigar Mile has always been a champions kind of race. It's had great fields in it over the years. Makes
Was it
absolutely
ever
no
a grade one? Was it
sense.
ever?
It was a great one forever. It was a great one
And
forever.
then
They
what?
lost
They just changed it this year?
2 years ago, or last year. Whatever.
And you're saying the reason they changed it is because it's too close to the.
Well, their argument is that it hasn't had good enough fields. But if you go back and you look at the race over the last 5 years, I'll argue that the Cigar Mile field's been a lot better than the Carter Field, which is the first grade one of the year in Aqueduct in April. So it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. That's the graded stakes committee for you. The best thing Martin Panza I thought ever did when he was in charge of New York Racing was moving the Cigar Mile back a week, giving you 4 weeks between the Breeders' Cup and the Cigar Mile instead of the 3 weeks as it used to be. It's tremendous. We're having, it's still going to be a good field. Horses like Three Technique and Senior Buscador, off disappointing performances in the Breeders' Cup, are back. But you could have had an unbelievable field. This is the problem with horse racing right now. We're the Plaxico Burrs. We shoot ourselves in the foot every single time that we can, and it makes no sense. The Cigar Mile, if programmed the right way and put out the right way, and you attract those kind of horses, if Horse of the Year meant something, which it doesn't anymore, I guess. If the grade one meant something, which it doesn't anymore, it's things like that. That's a race that should be a marquee race that it's targeted by. It's a stallion making race. We have the Met Mile and we have the Cigar Mile, and those are supposed to be two huge races on the future of the breed. And instead, we just sit there and we just say, no, let's go to the breeding shed now. Don't worry about it.
And it's okay that we have the Grade 1 Hollywood Derby though in the same day.
It makes for 3-year-old colts on the grass. I don't know. I guess Chad Brown has more pull on the grass than the dirt.
All right, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for doing this, guys. On Thanksgiving, this is our Thanksgiving gift to our viewers, or especially at Patreon.
Everybody remember on Saturday, keep those L's down, okay?
See you guys next week. Thanks, Chad. To one and all, happy Thanksgiving.